What happens when a global pop icon known for softness, ambiguity, and carefully guarded privacy walks into a daytime television arena built on sharp opinions, live tension, and no escape, and the questions stop being polite? Before we go any further, if you love explosive celebrity moments, uncomfortable interviews, and the stories behind the headlines, subscribe to Fame and Frame right now, hit that like button, and drop a comment to let us know you're here. You won't want to miss what unfolds next. The lights inside the studio glow warmer than usual, a deceptive calm settling over the iconic view table. Coffee mugs are aligned, cue cards are stacked. The audience buzzes with that familiar mix of excitement and curiosity, the kind that only happens when a superstar walks into a room where anything can happen live. Harry Styles steps out from backstage. There's a ripple through the crowd, a collective intake of breath. Some clap instantly, others squeal. A few simply stare like they need a second to confirm that yes, that really is him. Harry smiles, polite, practiced, easy. He's done this 1,000 times. Late night shows, award stages, sold-out arenas screaming his name like a prayer. But this is different. This isn't a concert. This isn't a carefully curated interview with a fan disguised as a host. This is The View, where conversations don't always stay on script, and where opinions don't apologize for being loud. Harry adjusts the collar of his jacket as he walks toward the table. His outfit is, as expected, unmistakably him. Tailored but playful, masculine but fluid, deliberately resistant to labels. Cameras zoom in. Social media interns backstage are already clipping footage before he even sits down. Whoopi Goldberg welcomes him first, her voice warm, grounding. "We're so happy to have you here." Harry nods. "Thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here." Joy Behar sits 2 seats down, arms loosely crossed, lips pursed in a half-smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. She's watching him, not with awe, not with hostility, but with something sharper. Curiosity edged with skepticism. The opening moments go smoothly. They talk about Harry's latest project, his music, his acting, his fans. Laughter bubbles up. The audience relaxes. This feels safe, familiar. Harry leans back slightly, shoulders unclenching. Internally he tells himself, "This is fine. Just another interview." But then Joy leans forward. "So Harry," she says, her tone casual but deliberate, "you've become quite the symbol lately." Harry tilts his head. "A symbol?" Joy nods. "Yeah, for gender expression, for breaking norms, for confusing a lot of people." A faint murmur ripples through the audience. Harry smiles again, smaller this time. "I don't really try to confuse anyone." Joy raises an eyebrow. "But you do enjoy challenging traditional ideas, don't you?" The room tightens. You can feel it. The hosts glance at one another. This is the moment where the interview shifts from promotional to personal. Harry chooses his words carefully. "I think I just enjoy expressing myself. Clothes, music, it's all part of that." Joy doesn't back off. "Sure. But when you wear dresses on magazine covers, when you talk about fluidity, do you think about the message you're sending to young fans?" The audience reacts. Some applause, some uncomfortable shuffling. Harry's jaw tightens just for a second. "I think the message is that it's okay to be yourself," he says. Joy presses on. "But yourself is a global brand now. You're not just some guy experimenting in his bedroom. You're influencing millions. Do you ever worry that you're pushing something too far?" The word pushing hangs in the air. Harry blinks. There it is. The question beneath the question. Whoopi interjects gently, "Joy." But Joy isn't done. "I'm just saying," Joy continues, turning slightly toward the audience, "there's a difference between personal expression and making a statement whether you intend to or not." The camera cuts to Harry's face. For the first time, the easy charm falters. He inhales slowly. "I don't really see it as pushing," he says. "I see it as existing." A beat. "And if that makes people uncomfortable," he adds, "maybe that discomfort is worth examining." The audience erupts, half applause, half stunned silence. Joy chuckles, but there's an edge to it. "That's very philosophical. But not everyone has the luxury of experimenting without consequences." Now the tension is undeniable. The hosts shift in their seats. The producer backstage signals to wrap this up. But it's too late. This is live. This is happening. Harry leans forward now, elbows on the table. His voice stays calm, but there's steel underneath. I don't think being myself is a luxury, he says. I think it's a right. The room goes quiet. Joy studies him. Even when it confuses parents. When it blurs lines that some people find important. Harry doesn't look away. I'm not here to raise anyone's kids. I'm just trying to be honest about who I am. The audience breaks into applause again. Louder this time. A few people stand. Joy sighs, leaning back. I guess my concern is, we live in a world where clarity matters. Harry nods slowly. And I think kindness matters more. For a split second, neither of them speaks. You can almost hear the collective thought forming across social media. Did that just happen? Whoopi jumps in, laughing lightly, trying to diffuse. Well, this is why we have conversations, right? But the energy has shifted. There's no going back to light banter now. Harry smiles politely again, but it's different. Guarded. Professional. Inside, though, something churns. He didn't come here to defend his existence. He didn't come here to be a talking point in someone else's culture war. And yet, here he is. The rest of the segment moves on, but the spark lingers. Every answer Harry gives now is measured. Every glance between the hosts is loaded. As the show cuts to commercial, the audience buzzes. Not with celebrity excitement, but with debate. Some clap harder than ever. Others whisper to each other, shaking their heads. Backstage, producers are already checking Twitter. Clips are spreading. Hashtags are forming. This wasn't just an interview, it was a moment. And no one in that room knows yet just how far the shockwaves are about to travel. Because what started as a simple question has just ignited something much bigger. And this is only the beginning. The red on-air light fades, replaced by the artificial calm of a commercial break. But the tension doesn't leave the room. It lingers like static after a lightning strike. The audience exhales all at once, conversations erupting in hushed, excited bursts. Phones are already out. Fingers fly across screens. Someone in the third row whispers, "That was uncomfortable," while the woman next to her murmurs, "No, he handled that beautifully." At the table, Harry Styles keeps his smile in place, but it's thinner now, more deliberate. He takes a sip of water he doesn't really need, buying himself a moment. His leg bounces subtly beneath the table. An old habit, one the cameras usually never catch. Joy Behar flips through her notes, lips pressed together. She's done thousands of interviews, challenged presidents, actors, activists. She's not rattled, but she's aware. Very aware. There's a faint buzz in her ear from the control room. Producers asking her to steer lighter, to soften. She gives a tiny nod that says we'll see. Whoopi leans toward Harry during the break, her voice low. You okay? Harry nods. Yeah, I'm good. But inside, his thoughts are louder than the studio ever could be. Why does this always turn into a debate about permission? He wonders. Why is my existence always a question mark? The countdown begins. 5 seconds. The red light snaps back on. And we're back, Whoopi says smoothly, like nothing seismic just happened. The applause is polite but charged. Everyone knows they're standing in the aftermath of something real. Something unscripted. Joy glances at Harry again, this time with a different expression. Not confrontational, not soft either. Assessing. So, she says almost casually, you've spoken before about not wanting labels. You've said you like things to stay open. Harry nods. I think people are complex. I don't think we fit neatly into boxes. Joy smiles faintly. Yet people keep asking you to define yourself. Yes, Harry replies, a trace of weariness slipping through. They do. And you never really answer, Joy adds. A few audience members chuckle nervously. Harry leans back. Because I don't think I owe anyone that. There it is again, that subtle challenge. The refusal to perform clarity on demand. Joy taps her pen against the table. But don't you think not answering is an answer? The camera cuts between them, the split screen practically vibrating with tension. Harry considers this. He doesn't rush. The silence stretches just long enough to feel intentional. I think, he says finally, that not answering is me protecting something that's mine. A ripple of applause rolls through the audience, stronger now. Supportive. Defiant. Joy raises her hand slightly. I'm not saying you owe me anything. I'm saying you're a public figure. People project onto you. They look for guidance. Harry's voice stays calm, but it deepens. I'm not trying to be a guide. I'm just trying to live honestly. Sunny Hostin jumps in, sensing the growing heat. But Harry, honesty looks different to different people. Some feel reassured by definition. Harry turns toward her respectful. And some feel trapped by it. The audience reacts audibly. An O ripples through the seats. Joy exhales, a sharp little laugh escaping. You're very good at this, she says. At staying just out of reach. Harry meets her gaze. Maybe I just don't think everything needs to be reachable. For a split second, Joy looks genuinely surprised. The producer's voice crackles in the host's ears again. Move on. Please move on. Whoopi clears her throat. Let's talk about your fans for a second. But Joy isn't quite finished. Can I ask one more thing? She says, turning to Whoopi, who hesitates but nods. Joy looks back at Harry. Do you ever worry that by refusing to define yourself, you're letting others define you instead? The question lands heavier than the others. It's not accusatory, it's personal. Harry's expression shifts. This one gets through. He looks down at the table for a moment, fingers tracing the rim of his mug. The studio is quiet now. Even the audience seems to lean in. Yeah, he admits softly. I do worry about that. That admission cracks something open. But, he continues, lifting his eyes again, I worry more about defining myself too early and realizing later that I was wrong. A hush. Joy nods slowly, absorbing that. Fair. For the first time since the segment began, there's a pause without friction. Not agreement but understanding. Whoopi smiles, seizing the opening. Growth is allowed, she says firmly. Last I checked. The audience applauds, relieved laughter breaking through. But even as the conversation moves on, to music, to acting, to safer ground, the air never fully relaxes. Something fundamental has shifted. This isn't just a celebrity promoting a project anymore. This is a cultural moment unfolding in real time. Backstage, producers watch the monitors with widened eyes. Social media numbers tick upward like a slot machine gone wild. Clips of the exchange are already trending. Accounts are picking sides. Headlines are being drafted before the segment even ends. Harry feels it too. The weight of it. The familiar ache of knowing that no matter how carefully he speaks, his words will be bent, sharpened, weaponized. As the final applause rolls and the show moves toward its closing moments, Joy glances at him one last time. There's no smile now. No challenge either. Just a quiet, searching look. When the cameras finally cut and the red light dies, the room erupts. Audience members stand, clapping. Some for Harry, some for the hosts, some simply for the electricity of having witnessed something raw. A few shake their heads. A few wipe their eyes. Harry rises from his seat, offering polite thank yous, shaking hands. He's gracious. Always gracious. But as he walks backstage, the smile drops instantly. The hallway feels colder. Quieter. His team closes in around him, voices overlapping. Are you okay? That was intense. You handled it perfectly. Harry nods, but his chest feels tight. Not angry. Not exactly hurt. Just tired. Joy remains at the table for a moment after the audience clears, staring at her notes. A producer leans in, whispering urgently about Twitter, about reactions, about backlash and praise. Joy waves her off. I know, she says. I felt it. Because she did. Whatever that exchange was, debate, discomfort, confrontation, it wasn't forgettable. And outside that studio, the world is already reacting. Clips are looping. Words are being dissected. I'm just trying to exist becomes a rallying cry for some. A provocation for others. This isn't over when the cameras stop rolling. It's only spreading. And in the hours to come, both Harry Styles and Joy Behar are about to find themselves at the center of a storm neither of them fully anticipated. By the time Harry's car pulls away from the studio, the world has already made up its mind, or at least it thinks it has. Phones vibrate non-stop. Screens glow in the dim back seat as his publicist scrolls, jaw tightening with every refresh. The silence inside the car is thick, broken only by the soft hum of the engine and the distant echo of the city outside. #Harry on the View is trending, someone finally says. Harry exhales, staring out the window. Neon signs blur into streaks of color. Of course it is. Clips are everywhere. The pause before his answers. Joy's raised eyebrow. The line about existence. The one about kindness. Each moment sliced, looped, stripped of context, amplified. One account captions the video. Harry Styles destroys Joy Behar on live TV. Another. Joy Behar finally asks the questions no one else will. Two truths. No middle ground. No nuance. Harry closes his eyes for a moment. He's been here before. Interviews gone sideways, intentions misunderstood, but this feels sharper. More personal. Because it wasn't about music. It wasn't about a role. It was about him. Or at least the version of him everyone thinks they know. Across town, Joy Behar sits at her kitchen table. Glasses perched low on her nose, scrolling through her own phone. Notifications stack faster than she can read them. Some furious. Some grateful. Some cruel enough to make her scoff. She sets the phone down, sighing. I didn't mean to ambush him. She mutters to no one in particular. I meant to talk. But the internet doesn't care about intention. Cares about impact. Cable news picks it up within hours. A panel of commentators debates whether Joy crossed a line, or whether Harry dodged accountability. Body language experts freeze frame his posture. Cultural critics write think pieces before the sun goes down. Uncomfortable exchange. One headline reads, Necessary confrontation, says another. By nightfall, the story has grown teeth. Harry's team convenes in a hotel suite. Laptops open, voices low but urgent. We should put out a statement, someone suggests. No, Harry says quietly. That'll just add fuel. But people are saying, I know what they're saying. He interrupts, not unkindly. They always do. He rubs his face with both hands, exhaustion seeping in. What bothers him isn't the criticism. It's the reduction. The way a full human conversation gets flattened into a scorecard. Back on The View, the hosts debrief the next morning. Joy listens as producers read off viewer reactions. Strong opinions, they call them. Sunny defends the exchange. Whoopi emphasizes conversation over conflict. Joy stays mostly quiet. When she finally speaks, her voice is measured. I wasn't trying to make him uncomfortable. I was trying to understand what he stands for. A producer raises an eyebrow. And do you feel like you got that? Joy thinks back to his pause. His words about protecting something that's his. Yes, she says slowly. I think I did. Even if I didn't agree with all of it. Online fans rally. Some post side-by-side clips of Harry's answers, praising his composure. Others accuse Joy of being out of touch, of interrogating rather than listening. Hashtags clash like opposing armies. But something else happens too, something quieter. Parents write long posts about watching the segment with their kids. Young fans talk about feeling seen. Older viewers admit the conversation made them uncomfortable, and then admit that maybe that discomfort mattered. Harry reads a few of those late at night, alone in his hotel room. The noise fades just enough for those voices to reach him. He texts a friend. I didn't mean to start a war. The reply comes quickly. You didn't. You started a conversation. The next day, Joy is asked about the interview on another show. She chooses her words carefully. I think Harry is thoughtful, she says. I think he's navigating something complicated in a very public way. And I think it's okay to ask questions, even hard ones. As long as we're willing to listen to the answers. Some praise her for that. Others say it's too little, too late. The story keeps rolling. Memes appear. Parodies. Reaction videos dissecting every breath, every glance. The exchange becomes shorthand for something bigger than either of them. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the original moment, the real human exchange, gets harder to see. Harry steps onto a stage 2 nights later. The crowd roars like nothing ever happened. He smiles, genuine this time, and for a while the weight lifts. Music does that. It reminds him who he is when the noise falls away. But he knows the conversation will follow him. Interviews will reference it. Questions will circle back. Joy too feels it linger. Letters arrive at the studio. Some angry. Some thankful. All intense. Neither of them can undo the moment. All they can do is live with it. And as the cycle of outrage slowly begins to move on to the next thing, one truth remains. That exchange on The View didn't just expose a clash of perspectives. It exposed how hungry people are for honesty, and how uncomfortable it can be when it finally shows up. Because the story isn't really about Harry Styles or Joy Behar anymore. It's about the space between them. And that space is still buzzing, waiting for the final word. The noise doesn't disappear all at once. It never does. It fades in layers. A week after the episode, the clips are still circulating, but slower now, no longer exploding, just echoing. The outrage has dulled into opinion. The opinion into commentary. The commentary into cultural residue. The kind that lingers long after the cameras move on. The View audience notices it first. People clap a little differently when Joy speaks. Some louder. Some quieter. A few faces hold on to that familiar tight smile. The one that says, "I remember." Producers clock it. Joy clocks it too. She's been on television long enough to recognize when a moment follows you into the room. Harry feels it in interviews. Not in the questions themselves, those are careful now, but in the way they're asked. A pause before the mic is raised. A hesitation. Everyone waiting to see if he'll reopen the door. He doesn't. He talks about music. About joy. About touring. About creativity. And yet the subtext hums beneath it all. The unasked question sits between every sentence like a ghost. Then something unexpected happens. At a live taping of The View weeks later, during a segment about generational divides, a woman in the audience stands when invited to speak. Her voice shakes, not with anger but with emotion. "I didn't agree with everything Harry said," she admits, eyes flicking briefly toward Joy. "But I watched that interview with my granddaughter, and it started a conversation we'd never had before." The room goes quiet. Joy nods slowly, listening. "We didn't fight," the woman continues. "We didn't agree on everything. But we listened. And that mattered." Applause fills the studio, not explosive, not performative. Steady. Earnest. Joy swallows just once. "That," she says, voice softer than usual, "is why we talk." Online the temperature cools. Think pieces shift tone. Some critics revisit their takes, adding nuance they didn't have time for the first time around. Others double down, but the urgency is gone. The moment has settled into something more complex than outrage. Harry sees that clip too. He watches it alone, leaning back on a couch backstage before a show. He doesn't smile. He doesn't frown. He just nods. Later that night on stage between songs he pauses. The crowd quiets instinctively. "You know," he says, voice echoing through the arena. "Sometimes conversations are uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean they're wrong." The audience erupts. Some cheer. Some just listen. Harry doesn't say more. He doesn't need to. Back at The View, Joy mentions him once briefly during a conversation about pop culture. No edge. No challenge. Just acknowledgement. "He's thoughtful," she says. "And thoughtful people make waves." The camera moves on. The story doesn't end with an apology, or a victory, or a clear winner. It ends the way most real moments do, with people carrying their own interpretations forward, changed in ways they might not even fully recognize yet. Some viewers remember discomfort. Others remember composure. Some remember feeling seen. Others remember feeling challenged. And maybe that's the point. Because what happened on that set wasn't a takedown or a triumph. It was a collision between generations, expectations, and the complicated reality of living honestly under a spotlight. And those collisions don't resolve neatly. They ripple. Now it's your turn. Did Joy ask the questions that needed to be asked? Or did Harry show us the power of refusing to define yourself for others? Was this an uncomfortable moment we should avoid? Or one we desperately need more of? Tell us what you think in the comments. Share your perspective. Read someone else's. Keep the conversation alive. And if you want more cinematic, behind-the-scenes stories that pull you inside the moments everyone's talking about, subscribe to Fame and Frame right now. Because the real drama doesn't end when the camera's cut. It begins there.